Hello there guys, welcome back to another VB.NET tutorial about developing a simplified accounting system. Well, in the previous video we were able to create a simplified backup routine. All that we loop over all the tables and this is the code. So we loop over all these tables, right, and we save each table, right, and then in the when we try to save each table, we write the table name, then we get the data from that very table and we save each row, and for each row we are writing the column name and the value in that column. Okay. It is very simple, it is very straightforward, and today we will do the reverse. So we'll work on the restore, and pretty much it is the reverse of these steps, but it requires a little bit few other things to take into consideration. Okay, so for now, before I do anything, uh, I will take a full backup so that we could test or work on that. So this is admin and 123, right? And login. Okay, and now we press backup here, and I'm gonna call this test, and we save it, and that's it. Probably I need to add a message box, but I'll add that later. Let's check the file. The file is here, no problem there. Okay, so now let us go back and you know um, start working on the restore code. Now, one of the things that is very important is this one, save string, which is the code used to save a single string or a single value into the backup file. We need to do something that works in reverse. So we need to do first reading these 4 bytes to identify the length of the data representing the string, and then we will read the string and as bytes and convert that back into its original format. So let's see how this could be done. It's very straightforward, so check this out. This is public shared function. Okay, load string, and we have file stream as system IO file stream, and this method should return a string. Okay, so we need to read 4 bytes. So dimension b1 as integer, dimension b2 as integer, dimension b3 as integer, and dimension b4 as integer, and b1 equal file stream read bytes. Read byte, there you go. So this is the first byte, b2 equal file stream dot read byte, and b3 equal file stream read byte. Oh, sorry, this is read byte. Okay, and b4 equal file stream read byte. Okay, so now we have the 4 bytes representing the length of this string, right? So we need to create the actual length from these 4 bytes. So dimension L as long equals b1, b1 plus b2, multiply this by 256. Actually, I'll make these long, okay, so that I don't get an error while converting things, okay, for any reason. So you can see this is b1 plus b2 multiplied by 256. Why? Because you can see here this is the first one. The second one, if you check this out, it is the result of dividing the value by 256. So we need to shift the values. This is why I am multiplying by 256, plus b3 multiply this by 256 multiply by 256, plus b4 multiply this by 256 multiply by 256 multiply by 256. Okay, Now this is the length. I'm gonna call this str length. Okay, now I will create the byte array to store the string. Dimension b0 to str len -1 as byte, and now we will read the bytes from the file. So fs.read read, not read byte, and I need to pass what? I need to pass the array of bytes. This is b, this is 0, this is the count. So it need to be what? It need to be str len. However, there is a problem here. You might be if you check the read method, you can see that the method sorry, not read bytes, it's read, right? So you can see that this one returns what? It returns an integer which represents the number of bytes being read. For this very reason, we will modify the code a little bit. So dimension start as integer equals 0, right? So now do while start doesn't equal str length. I'll do the following. We will say start equals start plus read the bytes starting from this is b, right? And we will start from the start index, and we will read start length minus start index, and that's it. Okay, so at the very beginning start will be 0. This represents the full length, right? So it will read the byte. So assuming that it read part of that, let's say half the length, then this one will get increased by the half that was read, and the second time it will read, it will continue. Okay, now we have the value read from the file system. All we have to do is convert this back into a string. So dimension result as string equals system text encoding get encoding get encoding, and it need to be the same encoding, which is Windows 1256, and we will say get string, and we will pass the byte array. Okay, if you have a look here we are passing the string, getting the byte array. Here we are passing the byte array, we are getting the string, which is called the result here. That's right. And now we will return result. So this is the code that is being used to load a single string. Very straightforward, I suppose. And now let's have a look at the code for saving a single row, and we will write the code for loading a single row. Okay, and yeah, so all we are gonna do, I'm gonna say the following: public shared function load row, and we have fs as system IO file stream, and we have what? We have I could use this as data table, but I won't do it. I will pass db as database management class so that we will insert things here. Okay, and that's it. And this function, actually this is going to be a simple subroutine. Okay, it will either work or fail. If there's a problem, there will be an exception that is thrown here. Okay, so first we need to get the number of columns. Dimension col count as integer equals integer dot parse, and I will call load string. I will pass the file stream. This represents the number of columns, and I need to know the name of the table I am currently inserting to. For this very reason, I will add table name a string. There you go. Now I will create a SQL statement, SQL a string, right? And this is going to be insert into. I will say table name. Open this one. Okay, so dimension column names a string. Okay, and actually I might not need that, but let me show you what's gonna happen. So dimension I as integer, and for I equals 0 to, what do we have? We have call count minus 1. Okay, so now we will read the column name. This is the column name. So dimension call name a string equals load string, right? So I'll pass the path stream, so I got the column name, and next I will read the value itself. So dimension val a string and load string fs. It is very straightforward, right? So now we got the column name and the value. So let's continue this. I'm gonna say SQL equals SQL with column name, right? Okay, so now if there are multiple column names, there need to be a comma between them. So I'll add this check. So if I is smaller than call count minus 1, which means this is not the last column. I represent the index of a column. The last column index is call count minus 1. So if this is not the last column, this means there's a comma. Then SQL equals SQL and a single comma. After this one gets finished, actually I forgot to, well, create the values, right? I need to store the values. Dimension prms 0 to call count minus 1 as object. There you go. So now this is going to be what prms of I equal val. Now this will loop ending up with whole column names. Let me also do the following. Dimension prms SQL or str a string equals nothing, or actually maybe equal this one. So prms prm str equals prm str, and I need to pass I dot to string. Actually need to be at right. Okay, and what do we have? prm str, because prm str, I will show you in the trace what's happening. And okay, now after this one get finished, I'll say SQL equals SQL and this one values and prm str, and that's it. Okay, this is the SQL, and finally we would say db.execute SQL. I'll pass the SQL statement followed by the prms, okay, which is an array of object, and this should do it. This should allow me to load and insert a single row in a table into the database. I'll put a breakpoint over here, okay, and also put a breakpoint over here so that I could trace these later on. And now let us create the next one, which will allow us to load a single table. Okay, so now public sub table. So what do we have? We have fs as system io file stream, right? and we have db as database manager class and table name as string, right? So this is going to be straightforward. First we need to get the table name, right? So we have just for checking, dimension tn a string, and this is gonna equal load string. Okay, now if tn doesn't equal table name, then it means that we are loading a different table, so there is an error. So through new exception, wrong table name. Okay, now if all is good, we need to get how many values are there. So dimension row count as integer equal integer dot parse load string of file stream. So now we get to load all these rows. Now after getting this one, dimension I as integer for I equals 0 to dt dot to row count minus 1. I will add something here in a second, but just wait for me now. I'm gonna say load row, open this one, I'll pass the file stream, I'll pass the database object and table name. That's it, and this is the code. Now when you are trying to load a new table, all the information, all the old information in that very table need to be deleted. So what am I gonna do here? I will just say db.execute_SQL delete from and table name, and be careful with this command. This deletes everything. So before we are loading this table, we are deleting all the previous information and then we're inserting new ones. Now we have the code that loads a single table. We go to the very last code, which allows us to load the full database. Okay, so this one here, this is used to load the database. So I'll do something very similar. So there's going to be public shared function load database and db as database manager class followed by file name a string followed by byref error msg a string string and as boolean and enter. Okay, so now what we need to do, we add a try catch. I'll make the code here very similar, Control C. Yes. Okay, so what do? We are gonna use the using fs as new system IO file stream. File stream. And, this is gonna be file name, but the mode is IO file mode dot open, right? I think or shared, I'm not sure. Oh, I just opened, that's it. So we will open this file for reading, that's it. So here dimension I as integer, dimension table list equals get list of tables, and for I equals 0 to table list dot count minus 1 and load db table or load table, right? Load, oh, I think, oh, I forgot to add the shared, public shared subroutine. Sorry about that, it's my mistake. Public shared, yeah, my mistake. So here I'll just call load table and pass the file stream, and pass the database object and pass the table list of I, and finally after all this get to execute successfully, I'll say db.commit. So all the changes commits and return true. Okay, that's fine, and we save here. Now what am I gonna do? Something very simple. The last thing is to go and add the required code for restoring things here. So we have backup, there's gonna be restore. There you go. So let's copy the code over here and paste it here. So instead of save file dialog, OFD for open file dialog, right? So if OFD dot OFD, okay, we open the database, and instead of this is gonna be load database, load, okay, OFD dot file name, load database. Now if all goes well, we just sorry, message box dot show restore completed successfully. Okay, and success. Okay, and one last thing, yeah, me.dialog result equal, okay, or actually I could say me.close, right? Okay, so we will close the window so the application terminates. Okay, now we will start testing the code. Let's see how we could do that. Before we do anything, let me go to this one. I already took a full backup, right? So I want to change a few things. Oops, I made a double click, my mistake, very sorry about that. Let me show the table data and change things randomly. Okay, so that I could ruin the values here, whatever. Yeah, okay, and yeah, okay. Oops. Okay, so now I changed the values in the database. So now when I run the application, the account names, oh, builders, the account names are wrong. So we will do a restore, and if everything is accurate, we should be able to get back our information. Okay, yeah, so let's go here and I will say restore. I get this message box, test accounting backup, open. Okay, so F11, let's trace this. We open the file and get the list of tables. We are gonna loop on these tables. So the first table we are restoring is the vars table. So I will read the value. Alright, so I'm reading the first byte, second, third, and fourth. So there's 4 bytes, the string is 4 in length. Okay, that's accurate. We will read these, okay, and it should be vars. So this is very accurate right now. So reading values is very correct. So now we passed vars, and what's on the file is vars, so it is a match, so there is no problem. Now we will get how many rows are there. Should be 2 rows, accurate, and I will remove what's in the vars table, and now I will start loading things. Okay, so I will load the first row in the vars table. So F11, go. So how many columns do I get? I get 2 columns. I will create an insert into statement. Check this out, insert into vars, and this is gonna store the parameters. Okay, so now I get the first column name, it is var name, and it has the value of counter. You can see the SQL now. Insert into var name, and I will add a comma here, and the params is at 0, as you can see, and this is the first parameter. The second one is var value, and it has the value 330, and this is and now we will update these. Okay, and finally you can see these are two values, and now we finished the SQL statement. You can see the SQL now is insert into vars, var name, var value, values of at 0, at 1. We execute this SQL statement. We inserted the first row. This is the second row again. So it's the same thing, almost. It should be the same thing. And okay, that is finished. So you finished the first table. Now for the second table, this is the users. We run this. We will load. Okay, so let me show you these by adding watch. Okay, so you can see here, this is the watch of SQL, right? And PRMS add watch as well. And what do we have also? We have params add watch. And let me show you here. Okay, so we read the values. You can see here on the watch, as you can see, this is the first value. It's value of 1. Okay, 0 at 1. Okay, it's admin. Next value. Okay, the user password, and the last one is user status, and the final SQL is insert into user ID, username, blah blah blah. Okay, now we get executed successfully. Okay, so we loaded the second table. We will load the third table. I'll remove the trace for load here. Let me just finish this one. Okay, account ID, account holder name, blah blah blah. Okay, so this consists of 4 parameters. Yeah. Okay, and the final table, accounts. Oops. We finish this one. This is the final table, right? Oh, 2 tables, and we commit the changes, right? And yeah, it worked perfectly well. So restore completed successfully. I press OK, and the window get closed, and the connection to the database get closed, and that's it. So now if we run this application again, let's say admin123 go, you will see that we got the accurate values of test and test2, and we get the receipts and everything. So now the restore code is working perfectly fine without any problem, right? So the code isn't very complicated if you think about it. As you might have seen here, we are just we just reverse the process, right? So in the load database, we are just looping on the tables, calling the load table, and the load table method is very straightforward. We're just calling the load rows. We are identifying how many rows are there, and then we just load all these rows right away. And in the load row, we are building the SQL statement. This is probably the hardest part here, building the SQL statement and then storing the value, loading the value from the database, and executing the SQL statement. But it's very simple, very straightforward. And the most important method or function used is load string, which allows us to load a complete string from the file, okay, given its length. Yeah, so it is as simple as that. Yeah, so let's see our progress here in this project. So this is the development steps file. Let's see. Come on. Okay, so we finished the restore. Okay, and created the, well, it doesn't require a complicated user interface, very straightforward. We finished this one. So yeah, um, we still have few things, which is adding a new user and listing a new user, in other words, defining multiple users for the system. And this is not very hard. We'll see how to do that in the next videos. So I'll be uploading the updated source code on the website. You can follow the link in the description. That's it for today. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. Bye bye.